Hi everyone! We will now begin your wonderful journey that will change your life forever. I will teach you how to read a face like an open book. So let's begin. People have many faces. Isn't that clear? Face reading is a scientific system that allows for personality analysis based on facial features. It's as simple as that. All of us are born with a different face, but a great deal of research conducted over 10 years has shown that there are 74 recurring features from which the face of every person on the globe is constructed. What is more, these features can be used to help us discover more about the person sitting opposite us, from our partner, to our children, from our friends, to our work colleagues. Your face tells it all. Yes, it does. 80% of our face structure is decided by inherited genetic factors that are not related to race, sex, or the culture we come from, and already determine many personality characteristics. For example, Hillary Clinton's exaggerated cheeks that she inherited from her parents point to the fact that she has an adventurous personality, a love of trips and changes in her life. The remaining 20% that influence our looks are determined by varying factors such as environmental influence and our personality. So how does it work? A good question. Behind every face hides at least 60 muscles which change over the years according to our facial expressions and affects our facial features. Let me explain. If we smile a lot, the eyes screw up and small lines develop around them. When we concentrate, the muscles in our forehead contract and creates a small bulge on our forehead. When we keep secrets inside, we stretch our lips until they become thinner. Everybody's muscles are built exactly in the same way, and therefore, clear signs are created that are easy to identify and difficult to fake. Let's go back into history. How did face reading start? We as people have always been looking at one another and analyzing each other. Discovery suggests that it all began in ancient Egypt. Systematic approach to facial reading began with the philosopher Empedocles, who lived in Sicily in the 5th century BC. After him came Hippocrates, father of medical science, and Socrates. In fact, the first book on the subject was written by Aristotle, and it is his work upon which modern face reading is based. He was also Alexander Macedon's teacher, and we know that Alexander chose his leaders and soldiers by the science face reading. Marco Polo, who traveled the East, wrote that in India there were many face readers. The Chinese have developed a special facial reading technique going back to 300 BC. The Jews also developed in the 13th century face reading, which they called Chokhmat Panim. Later on in the 16th century, Geronimo Cardeno developed face reading, and in the 17th century it was Johann Caspar Leviter. I have a story for you about Abraham Lincoln choosing his cabinet. Lincoln seated himself behind the mahogany desk and opened his right hand to receive the papers. Letters from generals, teachers, about Lieutenant McMeade were handed over. The pile was so high that by the time Lincoln had read them all, the sun was setting. The men were eager to get into their carriages and return home to their wives and dinners. "Well," Lincoln began, "he seems an ideal candidate from these letters. His war record is impeccable, and I can find no fault with anything I have read about this man. Let us meet him now, so we might return to a quiet evening with our families. Bring Lieutenant James McMeade to me, please." The side door opened, and the attending Army aide ushered a man in uniform into the room. He came to stand directly in front of Abraham Lincoln. The president's gaze was powerful and searching as he regarded the officer. Lincoln was reviewing McNeed's facial features, a system called face reading, which he had learned when he was a young lawyer. It helped him to accurately read a person's character. In his mind, Lincoln made note of McNeed's features: a dimpled chin that was short, a chin which receded back to tuck behind forward-thrusting front teeth, an uneven forehead hairline, a tiny tight mouth, strange ears which protruded out from his head at odd angles, a mouth that upturned like a joker, but McNeed wasn't smiling, and a thick unibrow eyebrow. What was curious about McNeed, Lincoln thought, was that as he answered each direct question, his eyes would shift, almost retract visibly. It seemed to happen when the questions involved his military record. Lincoln had learned to recognize this eye change as cloaking, and he had seen it often in spies of all sorts. The president paced up and down. He made his decision and turned to the group. "Please leave us, Mr. McNeed." And after the man disappeared down the corridor, Lincoln turned to the curious cabinet members and said, "I don't want this man anywhere close to me." Lincoln pounded his open flat hand onto his desk as the astonished group gasped and was reverted to attention. "Show me a man who is 40 who is not responsible for his face." With that, he pulled in his vest and with long strides left the room. Weeks later, a news bulletin emerged from a border state with an artist's rendering of an escaped convict, Walter McNeed, who had been accused for killing his brother, Lieutenant James McNeed, and stealing his military papers. The murdered brother, Lieutenant James McNeed, had been a valiant soldier decorated in battle. And for those who studied the facial drawing closely, the man who had stood before Lincoln had been none other than Walter McNeed. Modern face reading began to gain prominence in the 1930s when U.S. Judge Edward Winston Jones noticed that certain facial features tended to reoccur in accused and witnesses that appeared before him. Eureka! When he looked into these phenomena in depth and examined and compared thousands of different people, he discovered that he was correct and for the first time suggested that there are many identifying signs that contribute to an accurate indication of character and personality. The way each individual conducts himself and the way he thinks. In experiments that he made later, he achieved an accuracy rate of 92%. By virtue of his research, Jones earned the status of father of the modern face reading. But wait, there's more. Since the judge's discovery, a great deal of research and facial comparisons have been conducted to examine face reading. Face reading, which has become a recognized scientific branch, has developed in many directions. It has become a diagnostic tool used in building teams of people who will work together in harmony, has helped find love and partners, and also assisted in solving problems and conflicts between the individual and those closest to him, whether at home or at work, whether with children or elders. We leading face readers are in the field for many years. We developed online face reading system, taking face reading to the next level by using advanced cutting-edge technologies for the first time in history is now available to everybody, especially for you, to learn on our online course. So here is your chance to become a face reader.